Well, today, most of my experience has been in face-to-face classrooms where I've used it in my undergraduate classes, but in the online setting, I've had a couple different groups that have explored it as a potential tool for online instruction. So there's not a lot happening yet in this arena for online instruction, but I believe it's coming because as I've gone to various conferences around the nation, I hear little echoes of people, no one's done it, but it sure makes sense. So it's a matter of time, I believe, because it's a way to bring experiential learning to the online learner who is mostly screen-based learning. Well, it's not a new phenomenon. It really started some 40 years ago. And I even met one of the originators and his partner in LA when I was speaking at the LA VR meetup there in Los Angeles. John Rupkalvis, and so it's got quite a storied history, but it's been heavy on the hardware side and the technical side, so it hadn't really had legs until we got to modern displays, modern computers, modern cell phones, smartphones with enough power to promote them. But in some ways, I see it on multiple tracks. I see it going that mature, sophisticated, what we call immersive virtual reality, moving forward with the new look Oculus and HTC Vive and similar. But I also see it kind of taking a step back and moving into a different direction with Google Cardboard and similar products that are taking it into more of a cell phone arena as opposed to a computer-based arena. So I've been involved with more of the 3D world since its inception in education. And it's all of the 3D world morphed into the VR world about 2.5 years ago. It's the same technology, but instead of delivered on a screen or a TV or a display, it's now delivered through the headgear. I think the future lies in trying to find avenues where we can bring experiential learning and interactive learning into the learning experience. So it's not just on the screen, it's not just flipping through the scroll of death, but we just learned about something. I can actually take you there. You can walk through it, you can react to it and take it there. There's also a second sort of spear happening in online learning where a lot of the VR is going to start to be collaborative. We would all come together and we could actually see each other's bodies or heads or get involved, come into a meeting room and meet and interact there. I've seen a couple developments that look really promising. One is the rapid evolution of low-cost spherical cameras, 360 cameras. It's come down in costs where now I think the biggest, most popular camera we saw at South by Southwest that most people were raving about was the Ricoh Theta S, Theta. So that's kind of an interesting new development. Another new development that's extremely interesting is gesture control. There's a new physical device you just put on the end of your finger called the Move Bird, and just a very small little device goes there, and you can I've actually gone into immersive environments and flown drones. And so I imagine I could open boxes and solve mysteries and do all kinds of educational stuff. When we make navigation easier, it's going to be a good thing. I have 3 pieces of advice. One is take a look at, too many teachers are using it so superficially, so simply. That's common with a lot of new and developing technologies. And I'd look at the more creative angles of teaching strategies so it's just not look and see. The second big picture idea for using VR is I wrote an article that's called The Grammar of VR. And the bottom line is I went out and looked at all the newspapers, magazines, and headlines and stories around the world on VR. And I captured all the verbs. And I did an analysis, and it's pretty underwhelming, the things that we do with VR when we could be doing other things that are better. In fact, we could climb the ladder of higher order thinking and climb the ladder of creativity, but most people in the United States and across the world, when you do this verb analysis from stories all around the world, they're doing dumb things. But here's what you ought to do. Here's the verbs and the adjectives that should be describing what you're doing. So my last piece of advice would be find out, what do you do when a child can't see it? If a kindergartner or a first grader cannot see VR, then they will struggle with reading in the classroom, because the same skills the eyes use for reading are the skills used to see in VR.